Tonight, an IMF-dominated discussion in the half hour of Business Live. We explore the impact of the business on the business and investor community as President Akufo-Addo directs the Finance Minister to engage the IMF for economic support. Meanwhile, an associate professor of finance at the Andrews University School of Business, USA, urges proof of financial discipline on the part of government as it shows interest in signing on to an IMF program.
Is able to convince IMF that this is our situation, this is our program. IMF may also look at some capital expenditure items.
Ahead, we'll get mixed reaction from the public on government's intent to engage the monetary fund.
It's good, because the reason is that they've squandered all the money, and there's no way we can survive without IMF.
I've been expecting this from this very government quite long ago, ever since we realized the economy was going down.
Plus, tonight on the Joy Business shopping list, we gauge the prices of some disposable products on the market.
We have plates, we have the bigger sizes, we have the smaller sizes. This one is 50 pieces in the pack. It goes for 55 cedis. And we have the sauces. This one is 50 pieces. It goes for 20 cedis.
How much were you saying?
Before it was 15 cedis, but now it's 20 cedis.
All these stories and more coming shortly. Do stay with us. Hello, you're welcome. I'm Charles Ayitey. This evening, we're getting, the hint that the IMF has confirmed Ghana's intends to seek an assistance program from them. The country director has tweeted not long ago confirming this particular development, saying that we can confirm that the authorities have been in touch to request fund support to Ghana's own economic program. The IMF stands ready to assist Ghana to restore macroeconomic stability, safeguard debt sustainability, promote inclusive and sustainable growth. That's from the country director, Albert Tunemama, there on Twitter just a while ago. But it's quite official. We now know the finance minister has been directed to trigger discussions with the IMF for an economic bailout. Ghana's net international reserves had declined to $4.6 billion in April this year from $6.9 billion in January 2022. This has impacted the foreign exchange market as some multinational firms that have declared dividends so far are also expected to repatriate the funds to the investors. This, among many other severe economic challenges, mounted pressure on government to seek IMF assistance. In all of this, there are concerns over the impact of this move on the business and investor community. Joining us to discuss is President of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Clement Amoako, together with the CEO of the AGI and that of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng. But we're going to start off with you, President of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Grateful that you could join us. Starting, what's your initial response? What's the Chamber's initial response to government's resolve to seek an IMF assistance?
Oh, thank you so much, and good evening to your listeners. The Chamber knows very well the purpose of the IMF. The IMF is there to come in when there are issues that are difficult to deal with as a country. And where we find ourselves at the moment, when we are down, the credit rating of Ghana is so low to the extent that it's difficult to borrow from outside. We cannot generate enough revenue from within. Meanwhile, we have to spend. As a result of the COVID impact and then the war between Russia and Ukraine, I think that it's about time that we look with IMF to come in to bail us out. The issue and the discussion is so crucial to the extent that as we have no alternative and the results of our debt has come in continuously as a result of successive governments borrowing, which was not stopped, and it has continued up to this current government. And now we are full. We don't have any place to go than to seek IMF to help us to bail out with these issues and get some money for us to run the economy.
Indeed, but of course there are concerns about the impact of an IMF program. Economists have also, made this, projection that with the IMF program comes austerity, and with austerity definitely could come issues regarding stimulating spending, across the Ghanaian economy. From the investor point of view, what are members really telling the chamber?
The fact is that if you have money and you are running your economy, nobody comes in to give you any conditionality. You have messed up as we speak now, and there is no alternative than to seek the IMF to come in to intervene. The good thing is that borrowing itself is not bad. It depends on how we use that money. As we speak now, we cannot run the economy without money. And so there's a need to do that. Now, when we go in and have some discussions, we have to look at some of the conditionalities that they will give us. And honestly, those conditionalities are allowing us to be more prudent than we used to be. We get the fund to come in to support our balance of payments, etc., together with what we get money for. Then we can look within and see how we can manage it into the future. But I think that as we speak now, we cannot generate money from within. There's no way. And you can just check from the way the e-levy went on. As we speak now, we're getting about 10% of the total revenue that they were expecting the country to get. The 90 is not coming from within. And so there's no alternative than to seek the redress of the IMF. But what I want to say is that when we are able to get their support, we have to look within and see where we can still make some gains. And the government also becoming prudent in their spending, and so that we can move in as a result of our predicaments.
Of this economic challenge that government and of course the rest of the country is currently facing, how is the business community responding, if not positioning itself better, to make sure that it's not really running down the drain in terms of losses?
Honestly, businesses are hurting and everybody is complaining. Now we can see that inflation has moved up high. We also see that the prime rate has also moved up to now. Exchange rate keeps on being above 8 point something. If you allow the economy to go as it is, I'm afraid businesses cannot be sustained. We need foreign currency to import. We need good interest rate to borrow money to expand our business and create jobs. In the absence of we not getting that money, and the government is also borrowing alongside with us to crowd out the private markets, then what we foresee, if you don't go for the bailout, will be very difficult. And I think that let's go in for the bailout and see what we can do within to support what it is. If that is done, it will bring the confidence back into the economy. People have lost confidence in the economy. And with the IMF coming in alone, you see the reaction. It's positive reaction towards the economy. That a lot of people will come in here. It might be float more Euro bond once the IMF are in, so that we'll be able to get what we are looking for. But I think that the best way to go is to go in with that, and then we will look at within. But I must say here that we should be able to tell Ghanaians that it's not all well with us. Let us not pretend as if it is well. And so that even if we are supposed to contribute our quota and the government leads, then there's the opportunity that other people to bring their contribution to bear. And then the economy, we can see a better future. Otherwise, I think that if we insist that we are not going to allow this, there wouldn't be any better alternative than where we find ourselves to go in for the IMF bailout.
Clement Osei-Marko, President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we are very grateful that you could join us with the Chamber's input on this matter. We still stay with the IMF because we're also joined by President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Whatever happens up there also impacts those below, talking of the traders and the informal sector. So we're grateful, Doc, that you could join us. Now, we've heard from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ghana's umbrella business community, saying that it's okay for us to go for an IMF program. It's going to really rekindle confidence by our various investors. What's your response to this?
Thank you very much. There's no doubt about the fact that there's a problem, a huge problem in the whole world, and that Ghana is not the exception. But we thought that we are not in normal times, as we all acknowledge. But in that, we had to use homegrown solution to solve this problem, and that was what we were expecting. Before the announcement came, we didn't know how serious our economy how far our economy have gone. And then the managers of the economy know best. If we have reached a dead end that we need assistance from IMF, so be it. But what we thought was that we apply homegrown solutions, make sure that we take bold decisions, and that we cannot still dwell on the luxury of manifestos that we have promised the people and all that, and that prone down our expenditure, and then we could still have gotten the solution. But you see, the IMF is also a solace under which the government can also have some respite. In that, when they apply the strict measures for us to be disciplined and all that, then of course a government will be exonerated. Then we think that that's a smart move from the government. Otherwise, if it would have adopted a homegrown solution by itself and all that, cutting down most of the social interventions that they themselves have brought, politically it will be probably not prudent for them. And so if IMF will come in and make sure that what we are insisting, that we ensure that there's discipline in our expenditure, make sure that we do not spend on frivolities and all that, and that they also put better money on the table. As we are speaking, I don't know what they are bringing to bear, and then the restrictions that they are adding up. And so we still wait for details to emerge, and then we can still make contribution to whatever it is. But for now, I'm still waiting, because whatever should be on the table is also very important for us. That they do not bring some insignificant amount and then also come and suppress us in so many things, and that when we are out of the program, we are still not able to get out, because it's going to be maybe 2 years, 3 years agreement that is going to cause a lot of problem for the country also. So let's see what we've been able to bargain for, and that it shouldn't be what has been happening in the past, because we've been there before, and what came out of it. Sometimes the same thing that they are going to tell us to do is what we have been saying, that we have to ensure value for money, we have to ensure that we apply prudence in our spending and all that, that we set our priority right. This is the same thing that they are going to tell us. So if anything at all, let's learn a lesson from it, whatever it will come. Then we should know that this is the surest way to go, that we do not spend on frivolities, and that we have to be prudent in our spending and all that. The same thing is going to come up, and for that reason, we don't have anything to say than to wait for the main details, and then we move on as a nation.
Even as the details come over, we shall engage once again the business community for your responses. We're grateful, Dr. Obin, for your input, but we shall be having the AGI's response shortly. But in the meantime, an associate professor of finance at the Andrews University School of Business, USA, Professor William Chepra, is urging proof of financial discipline on the part of government as it shows interest in signing on to this program. Speaking earlier on Marketplace, he charged government to convince the fund of its resolve to cut down expenses as proof of readiness for the external support.
The government is able to convince IMF that This is our situation. This is our program. IMF may also look at some capital expenditure items. I think that is where the problem will come in. You know, government capital expenditure programs like the Agenda 111 is a major program which will take a lot of resources. But I know that the president said they have deferred it, or they are rationing it for a period of 3 years. I'm sure this must also have to be extended to maybe 5 years. And this will reduce the capital expenditure line items. Indeed, if government also have to look at the procurement processes to make sure that the waste in the procurement processes are reduced, and we want to save money for the country. And I'm sure in a short while, within 36 months, we should be exiting from an IMF program with a good positioning, and also slow down on borrowing. I think one of the factors, we are borrowing from high interest rate areas. We may have to slow down on all those areas. And also government may have to convince labor that though we have to increase salaries or give the COLA 20%, government needs to convince them that this will not be a major, will not be in the position to do the full 20%. Government may have to be looking at a figure around 12% to give to workers to cushion them.
Well, let's now gauge the Association of Ghana Industries, because we're joined by its CEO, Mr. Seth Chuma Kwabwa. We're grateful, Seth, that he could join us. Of course, we've heard from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, very upbeat about government seeking an IMF assistance, especially when the president is saying that this could rekindle investor confidence. What's the point of view of the AGI on this matter?
Well, good evening to your viewers, and thank you for having me. Well, AGI's position, I don't think is different from what others probably may have said. Unfortunately, I didn't tune in early, so I don't know what others said. But basically, we believe that for industries and for businesses, we need stability in the macroeconomic environment. Anytime you don't have good stability in the environment and all the variables are pointing to a negative direction, it affects planning, it affects your business development agenda. And then it doesn't help you to expand and grow and then employ people. So it really affects businesses when you don't have stability in the macroeconomic environment. In recent months, we could all tell that, things have not been that smooth. We've had the cedi depreciating at a fast rate. Oil prices are going up. Cost of freight is so high. Policy rate has been increased all the way to 19%. Interest rate is so high. So definitely there is instability in the macroeconomic environment. And therefore, every effort to bring it back and bring that stability is critical. We are not happy that we've gotten to this point, but I think we've gotten to a stage where we don't seem to have much choices. If you want to bring stability and you are borrowing at such a high interest cost, then it's very difficult to bring that stability that you need. And therefore, some injection from elsewhere may be necessary. Unfortunately, because we borrow so much, our interest cost is high, and we are virtually getting to the stage where borrowing is becoming difficult. So intervention from IMF then becomes necessary. So at this particular moment, I don't think that we have a choice. So AGI supports the idea of we going for IMF intervention and bringing stability into the system. What is important, though, is that we look beyond the IMF right from now. And even whilst going to the IMF, the kind of negotiations we do will be very important, because at this stage, we don't know what the conditions, conditionalities that IMF will have will be. We know that normally they try to help you to control expenditure and be disciplined in your own arrangements. Whatever it is, we need to negotiate properly and then bring stability that we need for the economy to continue.
But briefly, what signal do you think this sends to the investment community, the investor community?
Well, generally speaking, as I said earlier, I wish we had not come to this point where we need to seek another IMF intervention in order to stabilize our economy. But we also appreciate that there have been some external shocks which has to be absorbed, and that have contributed to the situation we find ourselves. So under the circumstance, I think the IMF intervention will bring some confidence, because what it means is that government expenditure is going to be controlled, because IMF will bring some discipline into it, and then also it will also give confidence to the investor community that if you put your money in Ghana, because of this intervention, the tendency for government to pay back is high because it's going to go through a certain program. So if you know that you invest in Ghana through bonds and other methods, and you can get your resources back, you can get the return on your investment, and you are sure that payment to be done when it's due, then it brings confidence back. The thing about confidence is critical. If you look at the beginning of the year, when we started having problem with the cedi, and exchange rate was also not helping, it was largely because confidence level had dipped so low. And when confidence level goes down, it means that speculation will set in. People who do not, for example, need the dollar to go and import or buy anything will start buying dollars and hide it. So you need confidence back.
Right.
So I believe the intervention of the IMF, confidence will bounce back, and then we still have a stability in the economy.
We're grateful, Mr. Chimakwaba, for your thoughts on this matter. You're still watching Business Live with me, Charles Ayitey. Let's now turn our attention to other developments, because even as this is playing out, the general public has been responding. And here's a clip from my colleague, Beverly Brown.
The president's decision for us to go to IMF is unnecessary. Look, the government is embezzling the money. Even if they go for the money, they will come and then embezzle it, and then they'll be spending our money. Wow. It is unnecessary. Our politicians are so bad that they will squander the money. They will eat the money.
Me, I think it's good. Because the reason is that they've squandered all the money. And there's no way we can survive without IMF. Because over some years now, I think most governments have been to IMF about 16 times as I can remember. If we go to IMF, I think IMF can regulate the government. Regulate the government in a way that the way they are spending our money, they will not spend it as they are using it. Because when they came, they didn't suffer. So as they saw the money, they were just spending the money left and right.
I've been expecting this from this very government quite long ago. Ever since we realized the economy was going down, we were expecting this. But I didn't know why the present government was talking about e-levy. We are welcoming it. So the only thing we can tell the government is that they should return our e-levy for us and cancel the e-levy with immediate effect, since they are going for the IMF.
Well, I think in many ways it's good, but per their own manifesto and per their own utterances, they let us know that we are capable of managing our own affairs, and we are much like we have the strength to do our own things. But right now, going back to IMF seems like we are now weak to the extent that we can't even do things which will benefit us anymore, unless we call for foreign aid before they can come and support us. That means we are still like incompetent, as they use the same word to the previous president.
Those were voices from the streets regarding IMF. You're watching the Business Live. We're going for a short break. Do stay with us. And as we all know, it has been a very busy day for analysis on government intent of seeking an IMF program. You've heard from the business community, which is very much upbeat that this could instill confidence in the side of investors, that we couldn't really bring you the business shopping list where we're going to be gauging the prices of some disposable products on the market, but we shall be doing so on Prime Business at 8 p.m. this evening, so please make a date for that. In the meantime, I'm going to be leaving you with international business news, after which we bid goodbye. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.